welcome back, everyone. Ever feel like your brain is just constantly under siege? Bombarded by all the urgent sounding news, the endless social media, just a million things fighting for your attention. It really does feel like navigating a dense fog sometimes, trying to figure out what actually matters and what's just, well, noise. So today we're trying to cut through some of that overwhelm. We're doing a deep dive into a source that's surprisingly short, but honestly packed with wisdom. It's a poem called Tend Only Your Soil. Our mission here is to unpack the, I think, profound clarity hidden in just these few lines. We want to help you sharpen that sense of discernment, distinguishing between the distracting stuff that just drains you and the actions that genuinely move your life forward. Ultimately, it's really about empowering you to focus your energy, your attention, where it truly counts. Okay, let's unpack this. So the poem kicks off with this image that it immediately grabbed me, and I bet it'll resonate with you too. It says, "Some storms roar loud beyond your shoreline, but their waves never touch your feet." Just think about that for a second. How many storms do you sort of mentally weather each day? For me, it might be, I don't know, a viral tweet about someone I don't even follow, or some far-off crisis that's completely beyond my influence, or even just like an argument online between strangers. Mm-hmm. These things often feel huge in the moment, right? Mm-hmm. But when you really zoom out, they have almost zero direct impact on your immediate reality. Your actual day-to-day life, your responsibilities, your own well-being, they're kind of untouched.
It's a brilliant metaphor, isn't it? And what's so striking, I think, is how our modern world seems almost designed to pull us into these distant storms. Psychologically, you could talk about cognitive load here. Our brains just have a finite capacity. And when we let these, roaring distant events consume that bandwidth, we've got significantly less left for the real immediate stuff right in front of us. It's a bit like running your computer with 100 unnecessary apps open in the background. You feel busy, you feel stressed, definitely, but you're not actually doing anything truly impactful.
Right, you're just spinning your wheels.
Exactly. And the mental toll of that constant sort of unproductive engagement is very real. I mean, studies show that chronic exposure to overwhelming information, especially when there's nothing you can really do about it, significantly increases anxiety, feelings of helplessness. We're essentially spending our emotional energy on problems that are, well, quite literally beyond our shoreline, as the poem says. So the poem really challenges us, doesn't it? It asks, how do we strategically, almost ruthlessly, identify what truly deserves our precious mental energy versus what's just distant noise trying to hijack our attention? It's like a constant exercise in mental triage, really.
Yeah, mental triage. I like that. But, it's not always that straightforward, is it? Because sometimes things that are distant aren't totally irrelevant. And this is where, for me, the poem gets really interesting. It makes this crucial distinction in the second stanza. It says, "Some fires glow fierce in a far-off valley, yet you stand and choke on their smoke." That line really makes you stop and think, because it acknowledges, okay, some distant storms are just noise, yeah, but other distant issues do reach us somehow. So the key then becomes figuring out the difference.
Exactly. That's the nuance. Unlike those harmless storms we just talked about, these fires represent issues that, okay, maybe they're not right at your doorstep, but they have significant, sometimes subtle, indirect consequences. Their smoke actually drifts into your atmosphere.
Okay, so give us an example of that kind of smoke.
Well, think about systemic things like major economic shifts. They might start in distant financial markets, but they can genuinely impact your job security or the cost of groceries in your town, or environmental changes happening maybe halfway across the globe. Over time, that smoke might affect your local weather or resource availability, things like that.
Right, things that aren't immediate crises for me, but the effects ripple outwards.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really about understanding how interconnected everything is, but crucially, without being paralyzed by it all. It's not saying ignore these realities, not at all. It's about understanding the nature of their impact on you. And the poem offers this vital perspective. The fire's far off, okay? But when its smoke genuinely makes you cough, when it tangibly affects your health, your finances, your opportunities, your peace of mind, then it warrants a different kind of attention. So the challenge becomes, how do we identify the real smoke that affects us versus just the sheer volume of noise from those other truly superficial storms? It needs a more nuanced approach than just dismissing everything beyond, our immediate view. It's about being aware, yes, but not constantly overwhelmed.
Okay, that makes sense. Aware, not overwhelmed. And that leads us right into the poem's core instruction, doesn't it? The ultimate guidance it gives for navigating all this. Pull your gaze from the horizon's noise, tend only the soil beneath your hands. This line, tend only the soil beneath your hands, that's where the poem really anchors its wisdom, I feel. It pulls us inward towards our actual sphere of agency. So, what does that soil truly represent, that immediate sphere? It's such a grounding image, isn't it? Compared to the chaotic horizon.
Oh, it's a beautifully powerful image.
Yeah.
And its meaning is incredibly rich, I think. The soil beneath your hands, it's not literal dirt, obviously, but it represents everything you can directly cultivate, nourish, and, well, affect in your own life. This is your immediate sphere of influence and action. So think about your closest relationships, family, friends, colleagues, the quality of your work, your personal projects, your health, your well-being, both physical and mental, even your local community, your direct responsibilities. These are the places where your effort translates directly into, tangible impact.
Yeah.
Where you can actually see the results of your work or at least directly influence the outcome.
You can see something grow.
Exactly. And the real beauty here, I find, is the sheer empowerment in that focus. It's a profound shift, isn't it? From passively just watching distant, often overwhelming problems to actively engaging with what you can genuinely change. When you tend your soil, you're not just reacting anymore, you're actively building, creating, cultivating something. And this deliberate focus, it can dramatically reduce anxiety because you're no longer pouring precious energy into things you fundamentally cannot change or problems that are just too vast for one person. Instead, you're channeling that energy into areas where you can foster real growth, real positive change. It's definitely not apathy. It's more like a strategic, self-aware allocation of your most valuable resources, your attention and your energy.
Strategic allocation. I like that.
What's fascinating here is this isn't really about isolationism. It's about building a strong, resilient foundation. From that foundation, you might eventually be much better equipped to engage with the wider world, but it'll be on your terms and with genuine capacity.
Okay, that capacity building idea is key. But I wonder, what about the tension there? Because for a lot of us, especially people who are quite socially away, there's this natural feeling of obligation towards those larger fires. How do we stop this focus on our soil from becoming like a form of disengagement? Or even a kind of privileged ignorance, maybe? When so much out there seems to demand attention, is there a healthy way to balance that awareness with this focused action?
That's a really crucial question, a very insightful one. And I think the poem isn't advocating for isolation or, willful ignorance at all. It's more like a blueprint for effective engagement. It's about prioritizing and building your capacity first. You know the saying, you can only pour from a full cup. Think about circles of influence versus circles of concern. Your soil is your circle of influence, what you can directly impact. Those distant fires are often in your circle of concern, yes, but they're largely outside your direct personal influence. The wisdom here, I believe, is that by tending your soil, you strengthen your capacity within your circle of influence.
Okay, so you become stronger first.
Exactly. You become a more resilient, more effective, more capable individual. And from that position of strength, you can then choose, much more strategically, where and how you might engage with broader issues. Maybe you can advocate for change more effectively in your local community then. Or maybe you can contribute meaningfully to an organization that is working on those distant fires. The point isn't to ignore the world. It's to engage with it from a place of agency rather than from helpless overwhelm.
Agency, not helplessness.
Right. It's about empowering yourself to build a sturdy foundation so you're not depleted when you do decide to tackle those larger challenges. A healthy forest grows from healthy soil, not just by shouting at distant wildfires.
That's a fantastic way to put it. Building capacity to engage rather than being paralyzed. Okay, so what does this all mean for us then? As we try to navigate our daily lives, we've sort of journeyed from spotting the meaningless distractions, the noise, to acknowledging those distant issues that might still cast a shadow, the smoke. And then finally, landing on concentrating our energy where we have personal agency, our soil. It feels like a progression almost, a framework for maybe more mindful and effective living.
Absolutely. I think the poem gives us an incredibly elegant yet profoundly practical framework for navigating this overwhelmingly complex world we live in.
Yeah.
It encourages us, really pushes us to make conscious, deliberate choices about where we direct our most valuable and finite resources, our attention and our energy.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we cultivate a greater sense of control, I think, a sense of purpose and genuine effectiveness in our daily lives. The poem is essentially maybe a guide to self-mastery in an age that's just full of infinite distraction. It empowers you to build and grow and contribute within your own life, your own communities, creating these ripples of positive change that hopefully eventually extend beyond your immediate soil. It's really a shift from being just a spectator to being a gardener. And the world, well, it desperately needs more gardeners.
I couldn't agree more. A gardener of our own lives, our own well being, our immediate impact. The enduring power of tend only your soil really is in that elegant simplicity, isn't it? Urging us to reclaim our focus from all the infinite distractions and reinvest it in the finite, meaningful areas where we can actually thrive and build genuine capacity. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. And as you go about your week, maybe consider this. In a world that seems designed to grab your attention towards every distant storm and every far off fire, what would truly change for you if you consciously decided to dedicate just, say, 10% more of your focus to the soil directly beneath your hands this week? What new habits might start to take root? What relationships could deepen? What projects might finally begin to bloom? Something to explore for yourself.